With that, we've
Nice.
got Mark Gross and Jeff Noticed, and I guess myself on the hot seat because we're all experts,
Yes, yes,
apparently.
and yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I asked internally. I said, "Give me the experts, the ones who know everything," and
The best of the best.
they
And,
didn't
and,
answer the call. So
yeah,
Jeff,
they weren't available, so you got us. So, all right.
Tough
so
business.
let's have a little bit of fun. And I say the audience, there's no bad questions here. Throw it out. Something you may have always wanted to know, something you want to stump these guys with. I'll start. Let's talk about the mills. And Mark, this one's for you. I hear a lot of times something called an integrated mill and a mini mill. What are they talking about?
Yeah, so the simplest way to put that is the main difference is the raw materials used. Integrated mill used mined iron ore and coal, whereas the mini mills, you scrap steel, and that's basically from recycled automobiles, equipment, or any byproduct of manufacturing. Integrated steel is basically making it from scratch, and you can look at mini mills as more of a recycling process. So it's pretty easy one.
Why do they call it a mini mill?
Maybe because at the time they probably couldn't offer the same breadth of products as an integrated mill would be my guess on that.
Okay. All right. I'll keep you on the hot seat there and ask you to explain the difference between hot rolled and cold rolled.
All right. Okay, so we'll start with hot roll. Basically it's just a mill process. Involves producing steel at high temperatures. Say over 17,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's cooled to room temperature, tested, and ready to ship out. Where it's cold roll, you take that hot roll steel, then you process it further. Annealing, temper rolling, and that's why it's more expensive than hot roll. Now the main difference is that cold roll steel is used for more precise applications than hot roll. You think of hot roll using for more larger structural components, beams, columns, frames, and think of cold roll used for smaller, more precise components, brackets, screws, bolts. And the two products feel differently as well. Hot roll, more scaly, dry finish, or cold rolls typically, kind of a smooth, oilier surface.
Okay.
That's detailed.
Yeah.
How about
absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Yeah. Mark's one of our speakers on our Metal 101, so he's got the basics down. Jeff, maybe we'll put this over to you. At what threshold does sheet become plate? We talk about sheet becoming plate. What's the threshold there?
Yeah, on the aluminum side, the general rule is going to be 249. Anything that's 249 or below is going to be a sheet product. Anything that's 250 and above, we define as a plate product. But I would add, we do have the ability to buy coil up to 0.375 thick material. So there are some anomalies that come into play. But as a general rule, 0.249 and below, and then 0.250 and above is plate.
Okay.
Which is a little bit different than I think you get on the stainless side and in other products.
And then, Jeff, would there be specific mills that would produce one type versus the other, or is it more common to see mills are able to produce the entire swath of everything up from sheet to plate?
Yeah, when you get into the plate side of it, there's going to be less providers. When you get on the non-heat treat side, the 3003, the 5052, common alloy type of products, there's going to be more suppliers. And I say that more from a domestic standpoint. Obviously, you start getting the imports, and then it gets a little bit more clouded, but certainly domestically, more providers of the sheeted product exist versus plate product that is out there. And most of the plate that we would entertain, a lot of those would fall under the alloys of a 2, a 6, or a 7 alloy. Whereas the sheet product, a lot of that's going to be your 1, 3, and 5 series alloys.
We got a question from the audience. What's the main difference between pipe and tube for stainless?
Well, I think that would apply for any product, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking OD, ID versus a thickness. That's the variance that, in my general knowledge as it relates to tubing and pipe.
And OEIUB inside
Yes.
inside and outside
outside.
diameter.
And then you get into pipe, you get into Schedule 40, the Schedule 80, and that's going to be the thickness of what that pipe is going to be.
Okay. I heard it explained one time very simplistic to me that pipe holds things up and tube holds things in. So that's
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, the other way around. Tube holds stuff up, holds stuff up, and pipe holds stuff in. So see, I don't understand.
Next question. He just wanted to throw the answer.
Nick, I think you have one for the group, right?
Yeah. So I was watching the Cybertruck presentation, and they decided to get out a Tommy gun and I think it's like a 9mm Glock and start shooting the vehicle. And I was wondering, what is the threshold to make a stainless steel vehicle bulletproof?
You want to answer that one, Mark? I'm gonna fall on the sword and say I watched the video, so I know what they claim is bulletproof, and in the Cybertruck they claim 1.8mm stainless. The 300 series, they don't define it by what 300 series. So 070 thick stainless is going to stop that the Tommy gun or the 9mm Luger. So
Now, did you watch the video because you have a reservation for the truck?
did I what?
Did you watch the video because you have a reservation for the truck?
Well, not just one. I got two. I picked up two of them. I got two on it.
Love it.
Nick, someone in the audience has one for you. Is there any index you'd suggest to follow to track U.S. carbon wire pricing?
Ooh. Carbon wire. I mean, if I'm doing that, if I'm asked that question, I'm likely going to Fast Markets, which is the new version of AMM. They usually have a fairly deep array of long products and wire products on there.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. How
And yeah, I
about,
guess if we have any salespeople or customers that want any information on that, I'd be happy to dig some up for them.
gotcha. Someone's asking how many different types of tempers exist in aluminum, and what are they?
Well, the major ones that we would deal with, there's three of them, and really there's two. There's, we talk sheet and you talk plate. That's the H and the T temper. So H is a strain hardened. That's going to be your sheet type of product. T is going to be your thermally treated. Those, add strength to the product. Those are the ones I mentioned earlier that are plate. And then you see a lot of O, which is annealed, also called dead soft. Those are the three majors, but there's 5 in total. You do get some as fabricated or an F designation, and there's a W that exists as well. But through my years of selling aluminum, going up on just over 25 years, a handful of times I've sold an F temper, and I can't tell you one time where a W temper has come up. So in total, 5 tempers would exist.
Hey, Jeff, I've got a question for you. A really random one, but
And that's a
do
turkey.
you have a name for those turkeys that are walking behind you?
I was gonna say, I see something behind Jeff.
The one's named Mike, the one is Nick, and Mark should be coming here anytime.
Do you shoot at the one named Nick?
Yeah.
There's a question about the difference between U.S. and Canadian prices. I guess that's all it is. I guess, is there a difference when you're pricing the metal between U.S. and Canadian prices?
I'll jump in slightly, but they may be able to add more color on this. I mean, if you think about it in terms of aluminum ingot, yes, there's definitely a difference because within aluminum ingot, the idea of this Midwest premium, it is inherently a U.S. phenomenon, that it's meant to be the cost to getting aluminum ingot into the Midwestern portion of the United States. So because of that definition, up in Canada, they don't have that Midwest premium. So that would be omitted from the cost. That's one big example. On the, I guess more broadly, I would say, due to protectionism, and this would be across all products, due to protectionism, I would view Canada and Mexico both as slightly different market dynamics. They have slightly different market dynamics, and as such, they have the potential to have much greater import penetration. And imports typically aren't coming in unless they're discounted. So I would say there is a little bit of a dampening effect on both in Canada and Mexico pricing.
You think anybody else wants to add?
No, I was going to mention, I mean, what he mentioned on aluminum is spot on. And certainly in the US, we see the variance from import to domestic with the LME versus the Midwest ingot. But keep in mind, a lot of the import product coming in with anti-dumping and countervailing duties and tariffs that are coming into play.
Yeah, same thing on carbon. Nick hit it well. I mean, they're two different markets, and a lot of it's driven by the import.
Sounds. Nick, we got one in here from your analyst Kevin. He wants to chime in and he wants to stump you. So this is very specific. So if you know these answers, I mean, more power to you. In June of 1981, Paul Volcker, the then chairman of the Fed, raised rates what percentage to try to tame inflation? So this is a two-part question. I guess what was the inflation rate at the time, and by what percentage did he raise it in 1981? This sounds like a very specific thing. Maybe you guys talked about.
But yeah, as a history lesson, Paul Volcker is the one who effectively just kept hiking and hiking and hiking until he just destroyed the economy. But I would say he did so purposefully. There are questions about whether Jay Powell is the reincarnation of Paul Volcker or not. But in terms of the actual values, I don't know, but I'll make a guess. I would guess that inflation was 13%, and he took interest rates to 18%.
Rates were 14.8% and raised it and he took it to 20.
Oof.
I think that's a passing grade.
Yeah. Hey, that's
a B+.
Got in the curve. That's good. Yeah. Hey.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Very specific. Everyone else got the softballs. There you go. We're getting a lot of general questions just on what do you guys think, Mark and Jeff in particular, what markets you think are really hot as we kind of enter into the new year? I mean, you mentioned aerospace, Jeff. A few mentions here about the wind market. So do you see that as a big market? I guess if you were to kind of characterize the market going into next year, what are some of the hot ones you guys are keeping an eye on?
So, you mentioned wind. That's been a big one for, offshore wind towers. That's been a big one for carbon plate, for mainly this year. And I think the outlook for next year looks equally strong. On the sheet side, auto kind of drives the bus, historically, and that's probably going to be no different next year as, we're coming off the resolution of the UAW strike.
Yeah, the big one for me on the aluminum side is going to be aerospace. But I've heard rumblings, oddly enough, which somewhat surprises me, that we're seeing some uptick in activity in building construction, which, I hope it lasts. But I would have anticipated with where interest rates are at and everything you hear on the housing side of things, more on the residential, that would not have been as good. But we're hearing some good remarks on it, at least early part of 2022.
In addition to that, broadly, I would probably say data center industry seems to be running very strong still. A lot of that's related to cloud computing, AI, those themes. And then the renewable trends are still trending pretty well at the moment. Those are the hot ones. On the cool side, I don't want to be too much of a wet blanket, but we are seeing like farm equipment data tracking somewhat weak relative to a lot of other industries.
And there's been multiple questions about imports. What is any reason why steel imports are down is one specific question, I guess. Are they, and any reasons where we see that to be the case?
Yeah, I mean, on the steel side, I mean, for most of the year, just haven't been as competitive. We haven't seen a lot of competitive offers. Tariffs are still a thing as well. So now this recent price resurgence on the domestic side, yeah, I mean, this thing could probably pull some imports back in, but that's kind of what we've been seeing for the majority of this year.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, over the course of 2023, it was basically a scenario where prices were going down, down, down every single month. And if that's the theme, it doesn't make sense for somebody like us or an end user to go out and buy something that has a 5 or 6 month lead time when it's probably going to be way, way overpriced by the time it gets here. And as an example, I mean, back 2 months ago when we were seeing domestic steel prices down around 650. Imports were 850, 900. They were not attractive at all. They were actually very unattractive. So I think that would be the main explanation for why we, at least at that time, hadn't seen them pick up. My gut kind of says now that we have domestic prices at 1100, I think that math works a whole lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I put Nick on the spot, so I'm going to put you guys on the spot with each one too. So, Jeff, for you, do you know when was aluminum discovered and by who?
Do I have a range of?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yes, yeah. 2
2
years, either way.
Well, it was in the 1800s. Am I good on the?
Closer.
You narrow it down even further?
Getting warm.
I think
You're
it was
in the right century. You're in the right century.
Yeah, I want to say the 1880-ish range. When things got started to pick up speed on it.
I have 1825.
I think that's when they discovered it was back then, but I think when they started actually doing some production more was in the latter part of the 1800s.
Look at him trying to hedge his bets.
I'll give it to you.
Be on the
Good one. All right, you guys know your stuff. How about Mark? Do you know the process of making steel that Andrew Carnegie originated?
Wow. Yeah, I don't think anybody's accused me of, being a really steel historian. But I think that one was the Bessemer process.
That's right.
Nailed it.
You're right.
All right.
I'm trying to look at your guys' eyes, see if you're Googling as I'm asking these questions.
I can't work the Google machine that fast, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, you guys know your stuff. All right. Nick, this one's probably for you. Do you think the NCAA handled the suspension of Jim Harbaugh correctly? And do you think any foul play was there?
I don't think the finality of that is complete. I think there will be more to the story, but yeah, I just wish we would have won. That stank.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun. Thanks for getting on the hot seat, everybody. This is the point in time. Give some closing thoughts. So I'd love it, Jeff, Mark, if you guys just kind of, give some wrap thoughts for what you're thinking, kind of a closing thoughts. Nick, over to you, and maybe start with Jeff.
Mine will be short. I'll just say happy holidays to everyone. It's been a great 2023 and looking forward to what 2024 brings.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo those sentiments as well. Thanks for you guys for taking for giving me this opportunity, and yeah, happy holidays to you and your family.
Before you go in, I mean, I should note we have these guests throughout the year, Jeff, Mark, and just a range of folks that come in, and they know their stuff, and I mean, it's always a fun discussion, and we do appreciate you coming on, and really taking some time and helping educate the audience. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike, is this the last cup of Joe we have till before Engage?
Oh, we will have the one in January. We'll have January 4th, first Thursday in January.
Excellent. Yeah, I guess I would just say it certainly feels like we're in new times over the last 6 to 12 months relative to what we saw in 21, 2022. Some of that's going to be good news. Some of that's going to be more difficult news. But yeah, I think the markets are very confusing right now. The economy is very confusing. It's in a very confusing place right now. But we hope everybody's enjoying the information we're sharing. And if there are any Florida State Seminole fans out there, thoughts and prayers for all of you for not making the playoffs. I think you got hosed. I don't understand that one. And to everybody else, happy holidays and have a happy and safe one.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks.